Welcome to Speaking Holistically, the podcast that explores the power of alternative medicine, natural healing, and homeopathic solutions to help you achieve true wellness. Each week, Dr. Jen and Amy G dive into the world of holistic health, discussing researched, time-tested remedies with expert insights from Dr. Jen, as well as real-life stories from patients to empower you to take charge of your health. So if you're ready to embrace a more natural path to wellness, let's start speaking holistically, because true healing begins from within. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaking Holistically. I'm your co-host, Amy G. I'm here with my co-host, the amazing Dr. Jen, and we are doing genetic labs today. And Dr. Jen is going to be breaking down D3 for us, which I have a personal story to share in the midst of this episode. So go ahead and kick us off, Dr. Jen. What do you have for us?
Actually, I think we should start with your story, because I think it's going to make a huge difference as far as the understanding goes for this. So
that's fine.
Let's start with your labs. What did your labs say, your most recent labs for vitamin D?
My most recent labs said that I'm at 110 milliliters of vitamin D.
So the normal range is 30 to 100. So she's 10 points above. She's an overachiever at everything, including vitamin D. But there is something called hypervitaminosis D. So it can be too much of a good thing and still too much. And since vitamin D is actually a hormone and it's oil soluble, it's not water soluble, your body doesn't get rid of it, it stores it. So she's hyper storing it, and which can lead to stress on the liver, the kidneys, and the rest of the immune system. So too much of a good thing can still be too much. So we discovered that she's taking how many IUs from your vitamin D? You're taking 5,000. You're taking 2 of the 5,000 every day, correct?
Yes. And then I'm taking 2 of the A&D that I get from you, which has 1,000 IUs in each one. So I'm taking 12,000 IUs a day. I was until a few days ago I talked.
Plus the CalMag that she has also contains vitamin D, and any fish oil naturally has a naturally occurring vitamin A and vitamin D in it as well.
And I take fish oil too. I take 2 a day.
So she's probably getting 15,000 IU a day, which everyone's like, more is better, and it's not really more is better. So you can end up with problems with too much. I generally say the sweet spot for most people is between 40 and 70. If they're getting 60 to 70 on their labs, I know that they're taking synthetic vitamin D or vitamin D in capsule form, but they're not getting it. Their body's not making it. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so Amy and I had a little chat about that and said, hey, maybe take how many weeks off?
3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just started 4 days ago.
3 weeks off because your body has so much storage that you need to give your liver a break. So vitamin D gets converted basically by the liver, the kidneys, and the parathyroid glands for all intents and purposes. Our bodies do make it by sun basically hitting our skin. So now everybody's slathering themselves with sunscreen, and that's why everyone's vitamin D levels have tanked significantly. Not to mention putting sunscreen on your skin, generally speaking, most of it is not natural. Some of it is, and hopefully most of the people here are already on that boat. But I don't use sunscreen ever. I just monitor how much time I'm spending in the sun because I don't want chemicals on my skin, even if it's, quote, natural. So I just manage that. I also take it's called Cataplex F and calcium lactate. And what that does is it gives enough calcium in the tissue as opposed to in the blood, and it gets the essential fatty acids up in the tissue, which leaves you less likely to burn. So it also helps the body. Calcium does help the absorption of vitamin D and vice versa. So there's a whole symbiotic relationship there too, which is going to confuse the living heck out of you if we go through all the biochemistry of everything. So what you need to know is more is not necessarily better. And there are plenty of people who are taking 5,000 to 10,000 IU a day, or the pharmaceutical form of it, 50,000 once a week. And their vitamin D levels aren't coming up, and nobody can figure out why. So they just keep shoving more vitamin D into the holes of a sinking canoe, right? Which I'm completely against. So there are some people based on genetics that need more of like a vegan or vegetarian form of it. So I have a whole host of different things in my office for vitamin D. One is basically it's a micellized form of it, so it actually gets absorbed much, much, much better. And I encourage everybody to take a micellized form of vitamin D. There's also the regular vitamin D that they're found in the gelatin caps. Okay. And then there's another one from Standard Process called Cataplex D, and it's a tablet. It's a whole food based vitamin D. So generally, if vitamin D levels aren't coming up, I'll give them the micellized form and or the Cataplex D, and you will start to see those vitamin D levels rise, so they're not getting the toxic levels of the other stuff that their body can't process. Once again, based on genetics again. The research suggests that vitamin D and K could be better together, but there's no strong evidence that completely proves it. So what they're doing is doing research with vitamin D and vitamin K, and not vitamin K by itself. They're not separating it from the vitamin D. So we can't really tell. So there's no conclusive research that says you absolutely need vitamin K. Now, let me get into this a little bit. So taking certain pharmaceuticals like anticoagulants, warfarin, Coumadin, stuff like that, certain antibiotics, cholesterol-lowering drugs, bile drugs. So if somebody has a gallbladder removed or they're having diarrhea all the time and they're giving something for like cholesterol, bile, that kind of thing, that's going to bring it down, and anticonvulsants as well. So those drugs will decrease the absorption of vitamin K. So in that case, those people may benefit strongly with taking vitamin K with D3. Okay. But not everybody needs vitamin K, especially not at the levels that they're giving everybody vitamin K. So we don't want to hyperstimulate the bone marrow. I estimate that we will start seeing issues long-term with excessive amounts of vitamin K, as well as vitamin D. I mean, you can have any kind of hypervitaminosis issues and then having symptoms with that. Making sure that your liver is supported, making sure that the kidneys are supported, and taking the vitamin D appropriately can help your immune system, your bone density, I mean, a whole host of stuff, immune system, the whole 9 yards. So
I will, sorry to interrupt you. I will just jump in for 1 second because I want to talk about what you and I talked about for mitigating, like getting the vitamin D out beyond just not taking it for the 3 weeks to let my body, the levels to come down and my liver to process some of it out. But I also am taking 2 Livoplex a day from Standard Process to support my liver as we get the vitamin D out. And in my defense, of course, I'm very fair skinned. I'm Black Irish. You can see, look how light my skin is. I'm very fair skinned, and I do not go out in the sun without everything covered always, no matter what time of year it is. So I was taking it thinking, oh, I know I'm deficient because, I don't get any sun on my skin, and so my body's not making it. So that, however, I went too far the other way with how much I was taking. And then, of course, we had that conversation. The other key element there beyond taking the 3 weeks off is taking the Livoplex to just give my liver an extra boost as it's processing out the excess vitamin D.
Well, and I really feel like everybody should be taking some sort of liver support. We live in a very toxic world. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live. If you are completely off the grid, you're not watching this anyway. So, that may be the only person who doesn't need it. But liver support, like I said, the liver has over 500 functions. So one of which is the conversion, utilization, basically the help of the vitamin D to be utilized, and the kidneys. So once we can support the kidneys and the liver, I use Arginex from Standard Process for liver and kidney function, and it tends to support both organs, but Livoplex is a great choice. And once again, if your vitamin D levels aren't coming up, regardless of how much is being shoved into your system, you're not using it. So let's figure out why you're not using it. So it might be the wrong form. You might need the vitamin K. You may be taking too much vitamin K. So there's a whole host of little things that need to be balanced out in order for vitamin D to be utilized appropriately. So everyone, is like vitamin D, vitamin D, vitamin D. And it's like, well, my kids don't really need any vitamin D. I do genetically. So when I did my genetic labs, I have a bunch of homozygous genes for vitamin D, absorption and utilization. I want to go into that a little bit too. So there are 3 basic aspects of the genes. One is wild type, which is what's normally found in the wild. And then there is heterozygous, which means you got one from mom and not one from dad, or vice versa. You only got one from one parent. And
that's the one I have in my life. Guarantee most people don't know that. And I want to point out too, that was actually the catalyst for our conversation about vitamin D was the Chinese body clock episode, because I had just recently out of nowhere started waking up about 2:30, and I'm like, what am I doing awake? Why? I've been in bed for, asleep for 3 hours, and I'm waking up. And we started talking about the liver and just kind of just basically peeling the onion to figure out, okay, what are you taking with, so we talked about vitamin D. So anyway, it's fascinating, right? But you can tie it together. It makes sense. And of course, since I stopped doing that and supported my liver, I'm not, these last 4 nights or whatever, I have not woken up in that 1 to 3 a.m. window. I just sleep through the night. So yeah, it really does work. Yeah. And it's, we talked about, for me, your suggestion, because I have the gel cap 5,000 I use, and you said, once you're through the 3 weeks, take one every other day, and that's enough for you. Like, you'll be fine. So that's what I'll do. And I'll suggest that to anybody else who's taking vitamin D. If you're taking 5,000 IUs, maybe that's a good option for you, is to take it every other day so you don't overload your system and your liver. Well, this is personally, this is a great episode, but for everybody, right? Vitamin D is something we all need. Our bodies do make it. But if you're like me and you're avoiding the sun because you get sunburnt watching fireworks, then you can supplement it, and doing it right is key, because even somebody like me, you can overdo it. So thank you, Dr. Jen. This is a great episode. And like I said, personal, it's a personal one for me. So thanks everybody for listening. If you haven't joined our school community, I'll put the link in the show notes below. We'd love to have you be a part of that community. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Until next time, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
That wraps up another episode of Speaking Holistically. Thank you for listening. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration to take charge of your health. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, be sure and join the Speaking Holistically school community by clicking the link in the show notes. There, you'll get access to daily podcast episodes, weekly live Q&As, educational content, and so much more. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep speaking holistically.